Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. It's a prism of endless possibility. A single choice can branch out into infinite realities, creating alternate worlds from the ones you know. Wow, I am the Watcher. Follow me and ponder the question. What if? What's up, guys? Welcome back to Marvel Madness, our Marvel's What If in review. We're back for Season 2, Episode 2. My name is Kyle. Thanks for checking out Project Potter, guys. We got our MCU cabinet here. I wasn't super high on the first episode, if you guys go back and watch that, but I will report that I had a much better time with this one. What we're going to do is go through kind of a rambling recap. I'll kind of recap the episodes, the big moments, the strongest character, a weakest character, score out of 10. That's pretty much it. So guys, let's go. So guys, for this one, this was kind of a standard more standard what if format, but I do feel like the quality for this one was much higher. It felt more like an MCU movie, and this is kind of where I struggle internally with the characters who are returning, which is great. We got Chris Hemsworth back as Thor, although this was a really interesting episode because this is like OG Thor, where he's like very serious and he's not really cracking any jokes. Hank Pym back, so we got Michael Douglas back, which was great. Lawrence Fishburne came back as his friend. I forget what his name was, but this was cool because when I saw the title, it was like Peter Quill attacks Earth's mightiest heroes. I'm like, okay, this is young Peter Quill. Yondu goes to get him and he turns him into Ego. And I was never really crazy about the Ego story from the Guardians games, even though I think Kurt Russell did a great job. It's just a kind of a weird thing. Everyone wants to like literally put his seed and everything. It's a weird like sexual innuendo. Obviously he's a piece of garbage because he puts a tumor in Peter's mom in the movies, and he kills her in this one too, although we don't see that, but Peter finds out. But young Peter with super crazy powers was really interesting to me because Ego basically gives him the power. Well, what happens if Yondu didn't raise him, but he actually did turn him in? And that's really interesting to me because this is kind of like what if can do. It's like, hey, a familiar set of characters can turn into a different story, or what if this happened, or it's cool. I mean, literally the name of the show is What If, so it's cool that we kind of get to explore these branching realities. I wish that this was live action because there are moments where I'm like, oh, that's Michael Douglas, and it's like you can like almost picture it with your mind's eye, but then you see the character, and even though I like the animation, it is like, this is almost real, and I wish this was live action. You know what I mean? Like it's because you have the same voice acting and the same mannerisms and the character likeness. Sometimes for me, it's like, I wish this was just live. And it's weird like that. Sometimes I get that way. Like Star Wars Visions, I noticed, or like Clone Wars and stuff. Like, even if I like the animation style, it's hard for me when you get the same voice actors and everything, because it is like I know the live action version of the characters and I'm seeing an animated version. So that's kind of a weird, I think, personal thing with me, but I did still enjoy it. Ego's trying to take over the world. Peter is like wrecking everything. And when it says Peter Quill attacks Earth's mightiest heroes, I was like, all right, cool, we're going to get the OG Avengers. But I was like, we've seen the Avengers so many times. But instead we get kind of the pre-alpha Avengers, where it's like Avengers 1.0, you know? We get Black Panther, but it's not Chadwick Boseman as T'Chaka. It's not Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, it's King T'Chaka, who was his dad that got blown up in Civil War. So that's really cool to see like the OG Black Panther. We get Hank Pym as Ant-Man, so we get Ant-Man, but not Scott Lang. We get the original. It's a young Hank Pym, which is cool. Obviously, Hope is in there, and she kind of acts like the Peter Quill in this one. She's like listening to music and stuff, and that's how they connect. We also get Lawrence Fishburne's character, and he is kind of like a second Ant-Man, so it's cool because we got an older version of him in the movies, and this is like back in the day, this is how it was. And then Winter Soldier was kind of strange because it felt like he didn't really fit in, but man, Winter Soldier is so cool. I forget how cool that character is. But this is before, he turns back, although at the end they say, oh, I think Bucky Barnes is out there too. It's just really a cool group of like ragtag heroes that I didn't expect to see together, where it's like like I said, like an alpha Avengers, which is really, really cool. That was a fun mix to see all their interactions and stuff. And we also get, that might be Marvel, I think. So they basically take the first versions of all the characters, and this was like an alternate Avengers, because they didn't have Iron Man yet, they didn't have Captain America. It's 1988, I think, so it's cool because it's like before everything. So it's like a familiar world that we have, but these new characters, or these characters that we already know, but like back in their heyday, in their prime. So that was really cool to see like the Ant-Man powers and everything, and them working together, and Peter kind of turning on them, but it was weird to me that Peter was like attacking everything, and then like, oh, actually it's my dad controlling me, but that wasn't really clear at the beginning. It seemed like Peter was just kind of carrying out his dad's wishes, but I think Ego was controlling him. So eventually Peter is like, oh no, I'm actually just a kid. I'm from Missouri, and he connects with Hope, and then they realize slowly that, oh, Peter isn't the bad guy. He's actually a powerful ally, and they kind of recruit him, and then Ego's trying to take over the Earth or whatever, and it's like this weird seed thing again, and I never really vibed with the ego storyline in the movies, despite liking Kurt Russell's performance. But he's back here, and he's just like, okay, and it's cool visually and stuff, and they have a big battle and stuff, and we get really cool scenes with Thor throwing the hammer, and it like splits everything open and stuff, and Thor being involved in here was a little weird, but I guess he explains that Ego took out like all the other 8 realms, and then he's coming here for like revenge, so it was still cool to see them fight. But then they're fighting at the end, and they realize Peter has to kind of help him out, so he comes in, and they're like, oh, right on cue. Ego is like, oh, Peter, you're not strong enough to defeat me, and Peter's like, no, but my mother once said, and he takes like part of Ego's powers, and he's like, I'm a motherfucking star boy, and hits him with a Kamehameha, dude. And I was like, sick. That was a sick moment. A pretty fun episode overall. I thought the quality was much higher. I thought the writing was really good. I loved just the interaction with everyone, and I enjoyed this a lot more than the first episode, despite kind of recognizing the first episode was going for something new. This was safe in a way, but I just like how we had a different group of characters in a familiar setting, so that's kind of, they save the world, and they say Bucky Barnes is out there somewhere, and I'm like, all right. And the ending is kind of cheesy, but again, this is kind of like a peek into another reality, so I think it was a fun time for what it was. Okay guys, strongest character for this one, it's Hank Pym. Dude, I love Michael Douglas in this role. He's so good, and to see a younger version where he's wearing the suit and he's going around, and he's still got that comedy, but he's working with Lawrence Fishburne's character, and I thought he was great, and it was really fun to see him like to a young daughter to a younger Hope, and then he obviously is the one who connects with Peter and kind of brings him back. And it was predictable that Bucky wasn't going to shoot him, obviously, but I think that was cool how Hank Pym played such a pivotal role, not only in the team, and was one of the most important parts, and just him still with the suit, and he has that line with Lawrence Fishburne where he's like, I thought your highest height was like 21 feet, and he's like, I've been working on it or whatever, because he goes big, and that's probably how Hank gets the idea to like keep expanding to get the suit big, and eventually Scott does that. So it's cool to see kind of the lineage of the Ant-Man powers, but I thought Hank Pym was the best one, and once again Michael Douglas just spectacular as Hank Pym, so he's my favorite character for this one. My least favorite character for this one, it's actually going to be the Winter Soldier, not because of how the Winter Soldier looks, because that character design is timeless and amazing, but to me it doesn't feel like he really belonged in there. And then I'm like, why was it like the KGB that sent him over there? Why would they send him over to help? Like that seems strange to me. I guess they're protecting Earth in general, but he was just attacking New York at that time, and I don't know, I guess the threat escalated. But they sent Winter Soldier over there, but then the whole thing with Winter Soldier is that like they used the words, like that's what Zemo did. He like used the words to control him, and he's just kind of fighting on his own there, so that was kind of strange, and he just felt like out of place, and they all have these powers and stuff they're fighting with, and then Winter Soldier is just kind of like shooting like an RPG. And Winter Soldier is such a cool character, but he always sticks out when he's around like superheroes, because I'm like, what is Winter Soldier's power? He's got super soldier serum, so he's really strong, but he's just using like regular guns, so he doesn't have these extraordinary powers or anything, so he always feels like underleveled when he's around people like Ant-Man or like Peter Quill or Ego. So he felt like he kind of didn't belong there, so not really obviously performance. I think Sebastian Stan was voicing him, but just I guess my least favorite character for this episode would be Winter Soldier. Okay guys, that brings us to a score. For this one, I'm going to say it's an 8.4. I enjoyed this a lot more. I don't think it's perfect. I think it still does kind of bog down a little bit. Like I said, I have a weird like live action anime thing sometimes with these characters, especially with the MCU, where I'm so fond of the live action MCU, obviously, that getting these characters in animated form is just weird. But again, that's a me thing. The quality was high, the production was good, the script was good, the interactions were cool. It was really, really cool to seeing the different characters, like all the things I've said before, guys. So I think I enjoyed this a lot more. It wasn't necessarily like a groundbreaking episode, but I think it was cool. And the Starboy moment where he just hits him with a straight up Kamehameha, that was dope. I was like, okay, that was a hype moment. So hats off to Peter Quill, hats off to the team for giving us like a big MCU moment in there. Even if it's not super consequential, I still enjoyed my time, and looking forward to the rest of the season. All right, guys, so that's another episode of What If Season 2, Episode 2. I like to kind of watch screen crushes, like Easter eggs too, so give me a better appreciation for the first episode, even though I'm still going to give you guys my genuine thoughts. I want to jump on here right after, and credits roll, and I'm like, boom, this is what I thought, this is what I liked, this is what I didn't like. But I like to kind of watch the breakdown videos after and be like, okay, maybe I was a little hard on this, or maybe this is cooler than I thought or something, but I like to give the raw reaction. So another episode, guys. Appreciate you. Until next time. What if?